Commander Rex Morrison had seen some questionable career decisions in his 34 years, but accepting a military advisory position on Gambling Station Omega definitely took the cake. Here he was, surrounded by aliens who smelled like wet socks and bad decisions, watching what the locals called entertainment, but what any sane human would call ritualized murder with better lighting. The Nexus Arena dominated the station's central hub like a chrome and neon tumor. Holographic advertisements promised glory beyond species and death with dignity, which Rex figured was alien marketing speak for come watch things get messily killed for our amusement. The current match featured a 6-armed Velconian warrior dismembering what looked like an oversized angry lobster. The crowd went wild. Rex needed a drink. That's when he spotted her at the bar, a woman who looked like she'd been carved out of trouble and bad attitude. Dark hair, scars that told stories, and eyes that suggested she'd seen the universe's worst and lived to be unimpressed by it. She was nursing something that glowed purple and probably violated several Geneva Convention articles. "You're human," Rex said, sliding onto the adjacent bar stool with what he hoped was casual confidence. "Congratulations, you've mastered basic species identification," she replied without looking up. "You want a medal or just a cookie?" "I'm Rex Morrison, military advisor. And you are?" "Leaving." She stood to go. "Wait, I've been here 3 weeks and you're the first human I've seen. What are the odds?" She paused, considering. "On this station? Pretty good, actually. There's maybe 12 of us scattered across the outer rim, and we're all here because we made spectacularly poor life choices." She sat back down. "Zara Kovak. Friends call me Zero." "Why Zero?" "Because that's how many friends I have left." Rex laughed despite himself. "So what's your story? How does a human end up in Gladiator Central?" Zero's expression shifted, becoming something between nostalgic and homicidal. "Ever hear about the incident? Why humans are banned from arena competition." "Banned? Since when?" 53 years, 4 months, 16 days. She knocked back her drink. "I was there." Rex blinked. "You don't look old enough to have been there 50 years ago." "Medical stasis does wonders for the complexion. Also helps when you're serving a galactic deportation sentence." Zero gestured toward the arena where something with tentacles was now strangling something with more tentacles. "I was the only human to ever compete here illegally. Lasted 6 matches before they kicked me out. For losing? For winning too creatively. Apparently, using an opponent's severed limb as a weapon violates their spirit of honorable combat clause. Who knew?" The next morning brought Ambassador Glorbex to Rex's quarters, which was never a good sign. Glorbex looked like someone had crossed a toad with a bureaucrat and then given the result a superiority complex and a cheap suit. His translator box made everything sound vaguely condescending, which Rex suspected wasn't a technical limitation. "Commander Morrison," Glorbex began, his throat sac inflating with self-importance, "the Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding humanity's continued colonial expansion." Rex poured himself coffee that could strip paint. "Let me guess. It involves the word no and several threats. Your species lacks proven combat worthiness. Your colonies will be redistributed to more deserving civilizations unless humanity demonstrates superiority in the Grand Melee within 7 standard cycles." "The Grand Melee?" 12 species, 1 arena, winner claims territorial rights for their people. Users forfeit expansion privileges for 50 years. Glorbex's smile revealed too many teeth. "Of course, humans remain banned from competition due to historical irregularities." Rex set down his coffee cup with deliberate care. "What if I told you I don't recognize that ban?" "Then I would tell you that volunteering for certain death changes nothing. The arena masters would never allow it." After Glorbex left, Rex found Zero in the station's maintenance bay, apparently rebuilding a plasma rifle from spare parts. Because of course she was. "Let me guess," she said without looking up. "Glorbex wants humanity to prove itself in the arena we're banned from entering." The classic alien logic. "How did you know?" "Because this happens every few decades. They get nervous about human expansion. manufacture a crisis, then act surprised when we refuse to roll over. She powered up the rifle, and it hummed with barely contained violence. So what's your brilliant plan? Enter the grand melee anyway. Zero's laugh could have cut glass. Rex, you sweet, a deluded fool. Do you have any idea what you'd be facing? Cracks on the destroyer is literally made of living rock and bad attitude. Princess Vexara can read minds and has telekinetic powers that could turn you inside out. Captain Thorax commands a hive mind and has acid for blood. And that's just the warm-up act. Then train me. Train you? Zero stood, rifle in hand. Rex, these aren't weekend warriors playing dress-up. These are apex predators from 12 different evolutionary nightmare scenarios. You'll be dead before the opening ceremony ends. Maybe. Or maybe humans have something they don't expect. Zero studied him for a long moment. You're actually serious about this? Dead serious. Pun intended. Fine. But when you die horribly, I'm keeping your gear. She shouldered the rifle. Training starts now. Try not to bleed on anything expensive. The next 6 days redefined Rex's understanding of pain. Zero's idea of training involved Rex getting his ass thoroughly kicked while she provided running commentary on his numerous shortcomings. He learned that Valkonian warriors could dislocate joints they didn't even have, that crystalline collective soldiers could vibrate their bodies at frequencies that shattered bone, and that his pain tolerance was significantly lower than he'd previously believed. Stop trying to overpower them, Zero said after Rex bounced off the training dummy for the 15th time. You're not stronger, faster, or tougher than any of them. Your only advantage is that you're too stupid to know when you should quit. The arena held 50,000 screaming aliens, and Rex was pretty sure none of them were rooting for him. The noise was physically painful, like being inside a blender filled with air horns and bad decisions. The arena floor stretched out like a chrome desert under lights bright enough to cook a turkey. In the challenger corner, boomed the announcer's voice through universal translators, representing the primitive species of Sol 3, and weighing in at disappointingly average specifications, Commander Rex Morrison. The crowd's laughter was deafening. Someone threw what might have been food. Rex waved anyway. His first opponent was Thrak the Bone Collector, a Kandorian warrior who looked like someone had given a skeleton anger management issues and a really bad attitude. Thrak wielded bone clubs and had a collection of skulls that he'd presumably collected the hard way. Human, Thrak rasped. Your bones will make fine additions to my collection. Thanks, Rex replied. But I'm still using them. Thrak charged with a roar that could shatter glass. Rex stepped aside at the last moment, and Thrak's momentum carried him face first into the arena wall. While Thrak was extracting his skull from the wall panel, Rex picked up one of the dropped bone clubs and introduced it to the back of Thrak's head. And Thrak is down. The announcer screamed, "How is this possible?" Rex's second opponent was Slythex, a Nagan serpent warrior with venom that could melt steel and reflexes faster than thought. Slythex coiled and struck like liquid lightning, fangs seeking Rex's throat. You cannot escape, mammal, Slythex hissed. My venom will dissolve you from within. Probably, Rex agreed, then pulled the pin from a smoke grenade and tossed it between them. In the resulting chaos, he managed to grab Slythex by the tail and used the confused serpent as a whip against the arena wall until Slythex stopped moving. The crowd had gone quiet. Even the announcers seemed confused. This cannot be happening, one commentator muttered. Rex's third opponent was Gornax the Terrible, a Brutarian war chief who stood 8 feet tall and had tusks that could open cans. Gornax carried weapons that probably had their own weapons, and his war cry could wake the dead. Human coward, Gornax rumbled, face me with honor. Honor's overrated, Rex replied, then threw sand in Gornax's eyes and kicked him in what he hoped were Brutarian testicles. When Gornax doubled over, Rex grabbed the war chief's own war hammer and demonstrated that gravity affects everyone equally. In the VIP section, Zero watched through binoculars and shook her head. You magnificent idiotic bastard, she muttered. By the semi-finals, The alien crowd had stopped laughing and started paying attention. Rex had advanced through 6 rounds using tactics that made military strategists weep and ethics committees file complaints. His victories weren't pretty, but they were effective, which apparently counted for something in galactic politics. That's when Zero discovered the fix was in. "Rex," she said through their comm link, "we have a problem. I've been monitoring arena communications, and they're rigging your matches." "Rigging them how?" "The arena AI has been analyzing your combat patterns and feeding data to your opponents. They know your moves before you make them." Zero's fingers flew across her makeshift hacking setup. "But that's not the worst part. They're releasing the Apex Predator for your final match." Rex paused his victory celebration. "The what now?" "Remember how I said humans got banned for winning too creatively? The Galactic Council commissioned a bioweapon specifically designed to counter human adaptability. They've been saving it for 50 years, waiting for another human to get this far." "What makes it so special?" "It was programmed with combat data from every human military engagement in recorded history. It knows every tactic, every strategy, every dirty trick humanity has ever used. It's basically us, but bigger, stronger, faster, and without the moral constraints." Rex considered this. "So it's like fighting myself, but if I were a genetically engineered murder machine." "That's disturbingly accurate, yes." "Great. Any good news?" Zero paused her typing. "The arena's self-destruct system is surprisingly easy to hack, so if you lose, at least we can take everyone with us. That's your idea of good news?" "Rex, I've been watching you fight for a week. At this point, mutual annihilation is looking like our best-case scenario. The Arena Masters made the announcement during the pre-fight ceremony. Due to exceptional circumstances, the final match would feature a special opponent designed to restore proper order to the competition." The crowd went wild with anticipation. Rex stood in the center of the arena, trying to look confident while privately calculating his odds of survival. They weren't good. Hell, they weren't even bad. They were mathematically indistinguishable from Zero. The gates opened, and the Apex Predator stepped into the light. It looked like someone had taken the best parts of every Apex Predator in the galaxy and assembled them into something that belonged in humanity's worst nightmares. 8 feet of armored muscle, claws that could shred titanium, and eyes that held the cold intelligence of a tactical computer crossed with pure homicidal intent. "Hello, human," it said in a voice like grinding metal. "I have been waiting to meet you." The Apex Predator moved like death with excellent reflexes. Rex's first 3 attacks were countered before he'd fully committed to them, and his 4th attempt nearly cost him his head. The creature fought with perfect technique, flawless timing, and the absolute certainty that it was about to win. "Your species' tactical preferences are well documented," the Apex said, deflecting Rex's desperate swing and responding with a backhand that sent him flying. "Surprise attacks, psychological warfare, exploitation of environmental factors, all accounted for." Rex rolled to avoid claws that carved furrows in the arena floor where his head had been. "Zero, any time you want to help would be great." "Working on it." Zero's voice crackled through his earpiece. "I'm trying to hack the arena systems, but their security is better than I expected." The Apex pursued with mechanical precision, each attack calculated for maximum efficiency. Rex found himself retreating, dodging, and generally failing to mount any effective offense. The creature had been programmed with 50 years of human combat data, and it showed. "Your predictability is disappointing," the Apex observed, landing a blow that cracked 2 of Rex's ribs. "Human creativity appears to have been greatly exaggerated." That's when Rex realized the creature's fatal flaw. "Zero," he gasped, dodging another swipe. "What did you say about the combat data?" "Every human military engagement in recorded history." "Why?" "It... Recorded by who?" "The Galactic Council, I assume. They've been monitoring human expansion for decades." Rex grinned through blood and pain. 50 years ago. Before first contact. Before we knew anyone was watching." "Rex, what are you thinking?" I'm thinking their data is incomplete. Rex stopped retreating and charged the apex head-on, screaming at the top of his lungs. The creature braced for impact, calculating the most efficient counter to a desperate frontal assault. What it didn't expect was for Rex to slide between its legs at the last second, grab the arena's emergency fire suppression system, and flood the immediate area with flame-retardant foam. In the resulting chaos of blinded apex and slippery footing, Rex did something no recorded human military engagement had ever documented. He improvised a solution using a safety system, a broken piece of arena equipment, and the kind of creative desperation that only comes from being about to die. The jury-rigged electromagnetic pulse that resulted shouldn't have worked. It definitely shouldn't have been possible to create from spare parts and fire safety equipment. But Rex had learned engineering from humans who believed that any problem could be solved with enough determination and a complete disregard for manufacturer warranties. The INP fried the Apex's cybernetic implants, leaving it staggering and confused while its enhanced systems rebooted. Rex used the opportunity to grab the creature's own weapon and demonstrate that the laws of physics apply equally to genetically engineered murder machines and everyone else. Victory to the human. The announcer screamed in disbelief. That's when the arena's self-destruct sequence activated. Zero, please tell me that wasn't you. That wasn't me. The arena masters activated it remotely. They'd rather destroy the facility than let you leave alive. Rex looked up at the VIP boxes where alien dignitaries were evacuating with impressive speed. Can you stop it? Not from here. But I can slow it down. Get to the emergency transporter pad on level 7. The arena was coming apart in increasingly creative ways. Gravity generators flickered on and off, safety barriers retracted into the walls, and emergency lighting cast everything in the kind of red glow that suggested immediate evacuation was strongly recommended. Rex ran through corridors filled with panicking aliens, most of whom were too busy escaping to pay attention to the human who'd just ruined their entertainment. He made it to level 7 as structural supports began failing in spectacular fashion. Zero was waiting at the transporter pad with a collection of Rex's former opponents, including Kraxon the Destroyer, Princess Vexara, and Captain Thorax. They looked like they'd had an interesting conversation. What's this about? Rex asked. Turns out, Zero said, your fellow competitors are less than thrilled about the arena masters trying to kill everyone just to maintain their booking schedule. They've agreed to testify before the Galactic Council about the rigged matches and the murder attempt. Princess Vexara stepped forward, her telepathic crown flickering with contained energy. Your victory was earned through skill and determination, human. The arena master's deception dishonors us all. Kraxon rumbled agreement, his rock-like features arranged in what might have been a smile. A human fights with stone heart. Kraxon respects stone heart. Captain Thorax clicked his mandibles approvingly. The hive mind concurs. Human tactical adaptability exceeds all projections. They transported out just as the arena's main support structure decided it had supported enough for one day. 3 weeks later, Rex found himself sitting in the Galactic Council chambers while lawyers argued about territorial rights, combat regulations, and whether attempted murder by arena constituted a violation of interspecies law. The proceedings had all the excitement of watching paint dry, if paint could file motions and object to testimony. The final ruling was typically bureaucratic. Humanity would be reinstated in the galactic community with full expansion rights, but under supervised participation to ensure appropriate integration. Rex suspected this meant they'd be watching humanity very carefully for any signs of excessive creativity. Ambassador Glorbex approached afterward, his throat sac deflated with what Rex hoped was shame. Commander Morrison, the Council wishes to acknowledge that human combat capabilities were underestimated. Thanks, Rex replied. I'll put that on my resume. There is also a formal request for you to establish a training facility. Several species have expressed interest in learning human tactical methods. Rex looked at Zero, who was examining the legal documents with the expression of someone reading her own death warrant. What do you think? I think we're about to make a lot of money teaching aliens how to fight dirty, she replied. Could be worse. 6 months later, the Human Combat Academy operated out of a converted cargo station in neutral space. Their first class included a Velconian diplomat who wanted to improve his negotiation techniques, a crystalline collective engineer interested in creative problem-solving, and a Brutarian chef who insisted that cooking and combat used the same fundamental principles. Rex stood in front of his students, wearing the kind of smile that suggested trouble was about to begin. Welcome to Human Combat 101. Today's lesson is titled Why Fair Fights Are for Suckers and Other Useful Life Skills. Zero watched from the observation deck, shaking her head. You know this is going to end badly, right? Probably, Rex agreed. But it'll be entertaining. In the end, that's what humanity brought to the galaxy, the absolute refusal to accept that anything was impossible, combined with the creative stubbornness to prove it. They made allies out of enemies, turned disadvantages into opportunities, and consistently drove everyone else slightly insane with their complete inability to follow the rules. And somehow, that worked out just fine. Because when you're the species that looked at an arena full of apex predators and said, "Hold my beer," the rest of the galaxy tends to give you a little extra space to work with. Not out of fear, exactly, but out of the dawning realization that humans were the kind of neighbors who might just decide to redecorate the entire galactic community if they got bored enough. Which, all things considered, was probably the best kind of reputation to have.